Some of those modalities are obviously putting a lot of pressure, new modalities like fixed price and so on and so forth, going to put a lot of pressure on law firms to really bone up on what they can do that is very different than the way they've done it to date. So that's one huge problem. But the other side, clients, because clients is where usually change is driven from. We're talking about GCs and their staff that are basically cut from the same block.
Yeah.
How is that? Like, you see, the clients are also of a fairly old mindset, and now they have to wrap their minds.
You're absolutely right. GCs and in-house legal departments should not feel, and generally don't feel, they're beyond scrutiny either. And the reality is, what I'm saying is, you can take conventional legal work, chunk it up, identify bits that could be done differently. Exactly the same should happen to in-house legal departments. So I think there's every chance that routine and repetitive work within legal departments itself will be outsourced. Indeed, that's one of the Rio Tinto examples. Rio Tinto case study is two things. One, they identified that a lot of their internal work within their legal department could be done more cheaply in India. And secondly, a lot of the work being done by their external law firms, the work being done by their junior lawyers in the external law firms could be done more cheaply by an outsourced provider. Two sides to that story. You're absolutely correct though. General counsel and house lawyers should not think they're in any sense immune from the efficiencies that we're seeing throughout the profession. And what's quite interesting often when you have a look at the analysis that in-house lawyers undertake is they say, well, here's the work we've got in the legal department, now how can we source that? A bit of outsourcing, bit of this, bit of that. In fact, we should go slightly earlier than that. You should never assume as a corporation you should do an in-house function at all. The place to start is, what legal work do we need done? What legal risks do we need managed? What are our legal needs as an organisation? And then start the analysis, given that's the work to be done, how should we resource that? So I think far from being out of the spotlight, we'll see in-house departments similar in the spotlight. They know that because they worry and agitate about how they can show they add value within their organisations. They worry and agitate about how they measure up in comparison to other law firms.
Right. And so,
you want a word in edgeways, don't you? So go.
So, how is there something for law firms to learn from professional services organizations that have been through that in the last 20 years? If you're looking at Bain & Company, if you're looking at Deloitte, if you're looking at all those organizations, they have to learn to be much more tight in how they're pricing their engagements, right? We're talking about professional services. They still charge per hour, but they also found alternative ways. They have basically gates that basically communicate to the client and say, it's going to be about 10,000 or 100,000, and we're going to basically get close to it and let you know that we're getting close to you. More communications with the client around what's going to happen, right? So there's expectations management. Are those the kind of things that law firms can learn from that industry, or is it totally different?
No, huge amounts to be learned. My biggest client over the last decade has been Deloitte, its tax group. And if you have a look at how it handles its compliance work as against its planning work, there's a great case study there. So the compliance work is advising clients, really helping them put together their returns to the tax authorities. That used to be a handcrafted process. It's now either been highly automated or heavily offshored or outsourced. So originally, as I say, hourly billing, handcrafted, traditional professional service, the pressures have been such that unless that was delivered in either a more systematized way or a vastly more efficient way, you just weren't going to be able to compete. So there's no substantive difference between that kind of professional work and a great deal of the routine and repetitive work that was on the law firms. That's case study one. Case study two, if you look at someone like Accenture, and they're a fascinating firm, they will do everything from very high volume, relatively routine work right through to high-end strategic work. And they use systems and processes accordingly. When it's the latter, the high-end strategic stuff, they've got very clever, bright individuals, MBAs and all the rest of it, teams of them with good knowledge resources, but basically being creative and imaginative. At the lower end, when they're perhaps doing a big IT project, the heavy use of system development methodologies, project management methodologies, big recipe books to make sure that they don't duplicate effort, they don't reinvent the wheel, they've got processes in place, so when they bid for work, they're an efficient machine. Huge amounts to be learned. I think lawyers, in many ways, and I said in my discussion this morning, one of the difficulties has been a couple of years ago at least, when I was speaking to law firms, it's hard, as I say, to convince a room full of millionaires that they've got their business model wrong. The reality is business has been good, why change? Now we're seeing the economy bringing about these changes. Lawyers are going to have to look at what work do we do as routine, what new methods can we use, what work do we do is high-end and complex, how can we justify the cost in the marketplace. And yes, I think you're absolutely right. In other professional services, you see case studies. It doesn't stop there. You can look at the surveying world, you can look at architecture, you look at actuaries. Actuaries, for example, the way they've incorporated, they used to be small handcraft cottage industries and partnerships. They're now companies working internationally. we don't need to reinvent the wheel. That thinking is there. What we need to realize as a profession is, as I say in my book, the party's over. We've had boom days, it's been great. When there's been lots of activity in the market, we've been allowed as a profession to charge handsomely for our fees, but it's all under a microscope. Huge demand for greater efficiencies, yes, and it's not going to go away.
I don't think we have a large firm managing partner sitting on the other side of this camera watching this stream particularly, although I hope they do. But if there were, what should they do if they're running a shop with 600-700 lawyers, they're reasonably well diversified in their practice, they may have 6-7 offices? You know, short kind of answer because we're kind of running out of time. What should they do and how quickly?
They're the people I spend my life with and advise. They've got two challenges just now. The short-term challenge, frankly, is winning as much work as they can as a marketing challenge. Over the next 18 months, massively competitive, bring more work home, traditional marketing solutions. The longer term is how do you appraise your business and see the areas that frankly are not going to exist in 5 years and the areas that are really going to emerge. Now I've developed a process I call stress testing and future proofing, and in a nutshell it involves looking at each practice area using the same methods and techniques and asking about a dozen difficult questions. Asking, for example, what is the impact of external investment, private equity on each part of the practice? Some will say no impact at all. Others will say, actually, if that happens in our sector, I can see new businesses emerging with which we simply cannot compete. But it's taking a long-term, by which I'm meaning in this context, 5-year view of the health and prosperity of each of your sectors. This is not something you can do firm-wide. You need to chunk up your business into different business units, subject them to the same strategic scrutiny, and ask the very hard question, do we have a business there in 5 years' time? Fantastic recipe. Thank you very much, Richard. I really appreciate you dropping by. Stay for a couple more seconds. We're going to go to a conversation with Jen Steele, and it's an interesting one because Jen is very active on Twitter. One of the first people that I started to follow when I joined Twitter about 4 or 5 months ago was Jen, and she has some really interesting things to say about it in the context of Web 2.0. And it's also going to be a great intro to the next and last topic, which is Enterprise 2.0, and we'll talk about the difference between the two, in which Jan will be here live. Here's Jan talking about Twitter.